What does data chaos look like?
The algorithm is drunk.
Marketing managers are over-segmenting.
The perfect targeting won't save a bad creative.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We're diving into one of the hottest topics in mobile marketing, channel diversification. Joining me are two experts, Lorenzo Rossi from Replug and Daria Gordeeva from Yango Ads. Welcome both. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Neha.
Thank you, Neha. Thanks a lot for having me.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourselves, your background about mobile marketing and beyond?
I have been working in Yango Ads for 2.5 years now. And previously, I've been working as a marketing manager for different companies with web products and mobile products. In Yango Ads, I have been a product marketing manager for Yango App Campaigns, which includes all kinds of advertising products for web and app campaigns. And I've been really focused on app campaigns. In this year, I actually transitioned fully to working as a business development manager for Yango App Campaigns and now working on growing our mobile clients globally.
On my side, I can be pretty synthetic. I've been in the mobile industry since the beginning. Since I moved to Berlin, I discovered the world of app marketing. The first mobile apps were about customizing your lock screen on your iPhone. And I was working for this company that was producing this type of applications. And within this, let's say, 13 years, I've seen the mobile industry changing a lot. From CPI-oriented campaigns, then, of course, all the fraud problems and moving toward the event optimization, raw optimizations. And, of course, right now we see much more attention on the full funnel optimization. I remember when I started working in mobile, ASO was not even a thing. And right now it's, of course, a part of the strategy. I think I haven't mentioned, but I am the co-founder of Replug. It's a mobile app marketing agency based in Berlin. And yeah, very happy to be here.
10, 12 years in the industry, Lorenzo, is not a joke. You must have seen everything. Marketers often face what we call the messy middle of user acquisition. And what does data chaos? I really like that phrase, data chaos. What does data chaos really look like for app marketers today?
If we're talking about the picture of several years, we're moving more and more into these walled gardens and privacy laws and all of this siloed data from each platform, and combining all of that and trying to connect all the dots. That's, for me, the data chaos for marketers. That's the first part of it from the overall market and app marketing picture right now in 2025. But from another side, internal side, I think it's also clear KPIs within the companies between different teams. Because what I've seen is that teams in one company can talk about the same metric with different names, or vice versa. They say one thing and they mean completely different metrics by it. And we are already in a very fragmented data world. And it's even amplified with this data chaos within the companies, where there isn't one single source of truth or one document where it's clear what we are tracking, how we're tracking it, and what are our main KPIs for the whole business, not just different teams within the business.
Data chaos, I agree. It's a very cool word to define it. It's just when teams don't know what's working and teams don't know the return on investment on their dollars. This is data chaos. And we have seen that after iOS 14, of course, data chaos is increasing. It's a real problem because it generates inefficiency, and there might be several reasons. One of the reasons is the one that Daria mentioned, that teams use different naming. They look at the same data but with different names for the events, for this type of things. But one of the biggest problems that at Replug we see is that many companies don't know how to set up the MMP. So the tracking part is often not working. The attribution windows are wrong. And they arrive to the point where they say, okay, the MMP is something that we don't need, when instead it's super important to have a clear source of truth when it comes to data. especially if you want to adopt channel diversification, you want to expand and scale across different channels. So for me, data chaos is when you basically cannot track and you try to guess what's working and what's not working.
Okay, so we're adopting this term data chaos. They're saying that probably we don't need MMP at all. So that's what their sentiment towards it. When in reality, I feel like that's the only solution. Yes, it will take time. Yes, you need to really have resources and knowledge to set it up. But without it, it's just blind leading the blind. It's just like you have no data to base your whole strategy on.
Oh, I love that phrase, the blind leading the blind. I feel like that's half the industry sometimes. We're just like, what's going on? No idea what's happening.
Sometimes it's convenient for someone to be blind because without clear data, with data chaos, people reach goals. So the problem is always at the top. If they are not the right goals, maybe it's also convenient to be blind and to have data chaos. We personally don't like data chaos, but I mean, you do you, as we say.
We're just throwing it in your lap, like, do whatever you want. Okay, so that kind of comes down to my next question. What are the most common user acquisition channels today, and how should marketers approach their targeting strategies?
We are working with many clients, of course, that are approaching advertising, but also many clients that want to scale. And we work with all of the channels available to promote a mobile app. But if you ask me, Neha, what are the most common? Of course, we still see a lot of Meta and Google being allocated the majority of the budget in the media mix. I believe that when you start advertising an app, but also when you want to scale, Meta is still one of the best channels. Because it offers a lot of possibilities in terms of targeting, in terms of testing different creative concepts, different messages that you want to deliver. And to be completely honest with you, I hear a lot of, Meta is not working anymore. The targeting is broken. The algorithm is drunk, these kind of things. I know it's not that I believe. We have proofs. And we have case studies, we have success stories that say Meta is working. We actually released a targeting checklist a couple of months ago. If you fix certain things with Meta, if you follow the structure, and most importantly, if you don't give the possibility to Meta to spend the budget however they want, you will get results. This is something that I can tell you with quite certainty. Then, of course, next to Meta, there is Google, which is still too big of a platform to be ignored. Especially if you have an Android app, it's very important because the reach is huge and the algorithm actually, if the budget is good, can deliver. The targeting here with Google, we all know it's less precise. You can test less creative concept whatsoever. But those are part of the old duopoly that has been dominating the advertising space for the past decade, I think. And there are, of course, Apple Search Ads, TikTok, Snapchat, this kind of other channels, especially TikTok is very big now. It's working quite well. That need to be part of the media mix. One thing that it's important to note is that Apple Search Ads nowadays in almost 2026 is not being used very well. We have seen many cases at Replug where app developers are relying too much on Apple Search Ads because they can track it better. We have discussed before about the data blindness, and with Apple Search Ads, even after iOS 14, you are able to track like as if it was before iOS 14. And for this reason, many app developers, they say, okay, let's try to scale Apple Search Ads. But Apple Search Ads is scalable just until a certain point because it's a search platform. So if people don't search, they don't find you. It's difficult to scale Apple Search Ads for a niche app. So that's always something that we like to remind our clients, our leads, our partners.
I have two new phrases today, data chaos and algorithm is drunk. That is a phrase I have never thought.
We have still more time. There will be more phrases for us to take away home with us.
Okay, I'm making a checklist of my new phrases that I enjoy. Algorithm is drunk.
We like checklists.
Dasha, do you want to add in your 2 cents?
I really agree with all the channels that are mentioned. However, I think that lately, especially again with all the algorithm updates and new markets and new regions coming into play, besides like the tier one countries for many of the app developers, there is some interest toward other DSPs as well. And here, actually, I wanted to talk about the best targeting practices. And it's going to sound really controversial. I don't think that it's like a be-all thing where it's going to cure all of your campaigns. But we see that oftentimes marketing managers are over-segmenting. So they're making things over-complicated on these platforms, where especially the algorithms are as advanced as in Meta's and Google's of this world. So I understand the sentiment because as a marketing manager myself for many years, you really want to really find your niche audience. You really want to find the user personas that you spend so much time working on. But if you are putting way too many constraints on the campaigns, that can actually hurt them. So instead of finding your very niche audience and really pointing the algorithm towards the 10 people that you feel like will have 100% conversion rate, instead it just limits the data pool for the algorithms to work with and to learn on. And at the end, the campaign just doesn't take off. This is especially true for the very advanced platforms with advanced algorithms. But just to keep in mind that when you are just starting, maybe you should have one very broad campaign to see how it performs with a very large pool of data and whether it will outperform your other segmented campaigns. Again, there's always the question of balance, and there's always the question of the middle ground between targeting and relying on algorithms. It's just that in my experience in the past few years, I've seen a lot of marketing managers leaning over to the over-segmenting side, which is why I want to highlight it here that maybe you should think about is trying broader campaigns to see how they work.
It really depends on the type of app you are promoting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you have a ride-hailing app and you want to scale worldwide and you want to test a DSPs, of course, don't segment. Like, doesn't make sense. But if you have an app that is designed for a specific demographic, let's say a dating app, and you want to target just female or men or young people, old people, if you have an app that is designed more for women, like a pregnancy app, this type of things, I understand you might be interested also in husbands, maybe, but you need to segment in a way. True, if you segment too much, at the end, you're going to make probably the algorithm drunk, as we were saying before.
Drunk on segmentation.
Drunk on segmentation, indeed. As you mentioned correctly, I believe it's a matter of balance. It's a matter of channels, the channels you're using, the app you're promoting, and then you can decide if you want to segment or if you want to go more broad.
I think that in the industry, what I've seen more of is how to build the personas, how to understand really who your customers are, and then go into platforms and segment. And there are cases where there should be some restraints, as you mentioned, like pregnancy apps. Although I think husbands should be considered because, there are two people that are having the baby. But
we should debate about that. We should debate.
Yeah. There isn't enough content that is talking about how you should also test how the algorithms work by themselves.
Indeed.
I found a new phrase that I like. Dasha, cure your campaign. It sounds like a sickness. I love it. I've heard fix your campaign, modify your campaign, adjust your campaign. But for the first time, I've heard cure your campaign. Let's talk a little bit about diversification. We've talked about all these major players in the industry, and I think it's critical that we talk about diversification where we don't have to rely on one channel. So why is diversification extremely important right now? And how should marketers adapt their creatives when moving away from Meta?
So recently, Meta updated its algorithms and it's called Andromeda update. After this update, I've seen the divide in the industry. So some people are saying they've seen way better results and some apps are saying their campaigns just tanked. So imagine you're having all of your user acquisition strategy depending on this one channel. And then there is an update in their algorithms and all your campaigns just stop performing. So there's very little time for you to quickly come up with a new strategy, to find new channels, to have media plans for them, etc., etc. Again, it feels like a very common knowledge at this point that at all areas of your life, you shouldn't be putting all your eggs in one basket. But that's very true for marketing and user acquisition as well. Again, especially with this very recent and very colorful example with updates in Meta.
We haven't seen big changes in Meta ads performances, to be honest. Actually, with some of the clients who are spending big budgets over the past weeks, over the past months, the performance have been getting better. Now, I don't know if it's because we still rely a lot on the targeting. The Andromeda update, in my opinion, it's just a strategy from Meta to push advertisers to move toward their interest, meaning fully automated with A+ campaigns, Advantage+ audiences, Advantage+ creatives. And trust me, I don't manage campaigns so much anymore, but every time I open the Meta Ads dashboard, I see that there is a new Advantage+ thing. And right now, my 13 years old niece would be able to set up a campaign on Meta. It's so easy. But you lose control. So you lose all the control on targeting, you lose all the control on other things that, in my opinion, are still very important, as long as we will be able to do this type of targeting. And this is related to the Andromeda update. To go back to your initial question, Neha, channel diversification is crucial and critical also if you want to scale. And also, as Daria was mentioning, it's important not to put all the eggs in one basket, because we had last year, do you remember when TikTok was banned from the US?
Yeah.
They stopped all the dating campaigns from one day to the other one overnight. So imagine the dating app that was just running on TikTok.
Oops.
And the day after they wake up and everything is paused. So those things are important. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, of course, but also channel diversification, if you want to scale, is crucial, because you cannot think to scale an app worldwide just using Meta or just using Google or just using a DSP or a single channel. If you want to really scale, and again, I'm thinking about a ride-hailing app like Uber and Bolt, these type of apps that really want to conquer the markets. They are active everywhere. We are now promoting a dating app in the DACH market, and we use everything because it makes sense to test everything when you really want to scale. Of course, you start from Meta, you start from Google, TikTok, Snapchat, but then you test DSPs. And we are active with several DSPs. We test channels like Reddit, this type of minor channels, but where you can find your niche audience. And in my experience, what we have seen at Replug is that if you want to adopt channel diversification and make it right, you need 3 conditions. And the first one is the budget.
That's like the dreaded phrase of everybody, budget.
So if you want to do channel diversification with 10K per month, what do you do? How many channels do you want to run? 10K, 20K, 1, 2 maximum. The second condition is the tracking. And to go back to data chaos, you need to have your tracking in place. The attribution needs to be aligned across all the channels and everything needs to work. And the third rule, and then I shut up, but it's the most important, it's the creative strategy that needs to be adapted. One size fits all strategy doesn't work.
Yeah, Lorenzo, I mentioned your checklists, and I think that if listeners take away just one main thing from this episode, it's this checklist of yours of 3 things. I completely agree with you. These 3 things, the budget, the tracking, and the creatives, are where the most people are making mistakes. Not mistakes, or maybe they are mistakes. Okay.
Let's be harsh. Bad mistakes.
Let's be harsh, mistakes. When they're starting a new channel, when they're expanding, because one, they want to see if the platform is quote unquote working with very small budgets. And of course it won't, because there's not enough fuel to start the car.
The algorithm doesn't get enough alcohol to get drunk.
Exactly. Yeah, there's not enough booze. So they're saying that it's bad results, so it's the experiment didn't work. Then again, with the tracking, so it wasn't set up correctly, that we don't want to spend time. It's just an experiment. We don't want to put our resources into setting everything up. Then, we don't see any conversion. It's not working. And the third part, again, is we have creatives from TikTok and we're going to just put it into this DSP because we don't want to, use resources on creating new videos or banners, even though the context and the audience that's going to see these creatives is very different from like TikTok's context in audience. But again, not much resources, it's just an experiment. And again, it doesn't work. So it can be an experiment. But these three pillars are very important to put into place to have the real results of this experiment and not just half-ass it and then say that the platform doesn't work.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the biggest mistakes in diversification, but do you want to add anything else? Maybe more booze-related phrases?
Oh, booze-related phrases. Each algorithm has its own time to get drunk. People have different tolerance for alcohol, and some people get drunk after one pint of beer, and others can drink 10 cocktails. So it's the same for platforms. And when you are starting a new channel, don't expect the same behavior as you have in others, especially in the big ones. So if your meta campaigns stopped its loading period after one day, it doesn't mean that now all DSPs will do the same and vice versa. So please, if you have agency Replug or you have ad network partners, talk to them about what to expect from each platform and don't just assume they're all the same.
Yeah, indeed. That's a very good point, Daria. So every channel has its own characteristic and also the KPIs need to be different. I'll make you an example, and this is something that not so many advertisers talk about because it's not a very common channel, but we have been pushing a lot with OEM placements, and maybe not everyone listening to the podcast is familiar with this. Basically, you can place ads on Android devices like Xiaomi, Samsung, Oppo, this type of things. The performances are very different from any other channels. And you need to be aware that you will need to wait a bit more of time for the cohort to develop to see the differences. And this is valid for all the other channels because, as you mentioned, if you start a channel and you run it for 1 week and you spend 300 euros and then you say that it's not working, well, I'm sorry, but this is a stupid mistake because you based your assumption on something that it's not correct. And we need to be harsh. I think I invented a quote, and this is for you, Neha.
Thank you. I'm honored.
I used to say that a very good creative can work very well with a bad targeting, but a perfect targeting won't save a bad creative. And this is valid for all the channels. Yeah, I know. You can print it.
Yes, I'm going to. You got to copyright that, sir.
I was just going to say, but make sure to use copyright.
So yeah, the creative part is very important for all the channels and you need to have it in place because otherwise it doesn't make sense to diversify. Because again, you measure the results with not the right setting.
So we've talked about creatives and the do's and don'ts. Let's talk a little bit about tracking and attribution. What role does MMP tracking play in diversification, and how do you avoid getting lost in the attribution complexity? Because I know people just kind of go haywire when we hear the word attribution.
I'm going to start from the end of your question because I don't get this sentiment of getting haywire when we talk about attribution, because I feel like marketers actually should be curious about how their different channels are performing and how it all fits into the big picture. So maybe it's my ideal world, but when I'm starting a new channel, when I'm starting a new campaign, it's in my interest to get everything tracked properly and attributed properly so that I know how the test went, how this fit into my whole strategy, and did it help my business at the end. We talked about it in the beginning, how tracking is one of the pillars for not only diversification, but in general for UA and marketing. For me, it's like navigation. So if you are going somewhere, you want to have a map, you want to know where you are and how long till your endpoint. And tracking does exactly that. Tracking, web analytics, MMPs. So going into user acquisition without MMP, I just don't see the reason for it. If you don't know how your budgets are performing, and if this brings real business value for you, then it's just playing the slot machines.
Okay, so we've moved from alcohol to now gambling. I'm just kidding.
The metaphors are going crazy. We're recording this on a Friday, so maybe that's that.
Yeah, that's true.
I like, Daria, that you're referring to the MMP as your Google Maps, basically. It's the navigation for traveling. I mean, I can only agree with you. If you check my LinkedIn, you see how many beefs I had with people that were saying that MMPs are not useful anymore.
That's crazy for me. That's just crazy. So I couldn't even pass it on.
Yeah, but it's crazy for me too. I am a person. I like to see other people's point of view. I understand if you only spend, again, small budget only on Meta, maybe you don't need an MMP. Maybe you can go with the Meta SDK. But since we are talking about channel diversification, and since we want our clients and our partners and our apps to scale, we are going to spend a lot of money. And if you spend a lot of money on different channels, on different platforms, Android, iOS, how the hell are you going to measure your results if you don't have an MMP in place? There is a solution. You build a tracking system in-house, and it's going to take you 10 years and it's going to be fantastic, but still, you need a tracking system. And there is no other way. You need to have all the attributions in place, meaning that sometimes we see MMPs that are set up with wrong attribution windows, that are still tracking 28 days post-click for Google with 7 days post-view and this type of things. And it's messy. So everything needs to work. The scan setup, it's so important. And people think that, okay, we set up the scan once and then it's done. But they don't realize that we need to keep testing. We need to test different events, different setups, different windows. Now with Scan 4, you have so many settings that you can tweak, fine conversion course. This type of possibilities, they need to be used, and they are important to track your results and to see where you're going. But let me add one last thing. It really depends on what are the goals, because of course, Daria, Lorenzo, Neha are very interested in seeing the real results. But sometimes people like to see better results on Google. Funny example. Last year, I was talking to a lead and they told me we have an MMP and we also use Firebase. And we use the MMP for tracking Meta, and we use Firebase for tracking Google because it shows better results.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, yeah. What the heck, man? Seriously?
Oh, my God, sir.
But I understand the marketing manager. They have their yearly goal of achieving fantastic results on Google and then say, okay, let's get the numbers from Firebase because they look better. And by the way, Firebase is not an MMP.
I think talking about like setting correct KPIs and really being honest about what's going on with your campaigns, that's a whole different episode. We should note that for the future. Another controversial one.
On a Friday night, maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah, there's going to be even more metaphors about alcohol and slot machines.
Lorenzo, I have one last question for you. If you had to recommend one overlooked channel for user acquisition in 2025, or well, it's only 2 months left, or 2026, which one would it be and why?
I mean, do you want the cool answer or you want the real answer?
Oh, are we going diplomatic versus non-diplomatic now?
I think with how this episode was going, I would prefer the real one.
The real one, of course. I'll give you also the cool one. I mean, right now everyone is talking about CTV, connected TV, this type of thing. It's going to be fantastic and great. It's going to give great results. Probably yes, but it depends on your budgets and your app at the end of the day. Channels that we see that are performing very well recently are the OEM. Again, we have been testing them. If you set your goals and if you understand that they have different KPIs, they can bring you results. But what we are seeing as well is some specific DSPs that are working very well. So the algorithms are less and less drunk. Of course, as everything, you need budget to invest in the learning phase, because you guys know that if you want to test DSP, you will have a learning phase that is probably 6 times longer than Meta or Google. So these type of things are important to clarify. So those are my answers. OEM, DSPs, And I mean, I love TikTok as a channel, but that's not a new channel. So if you are at scale and you don't run TikTok, probably you should fire your marketing manager.
Ouch. Okay.
Ouch.
So we really went non-diplomatic here.
I'm not diplomatic. I have a lot of enemies in the industry.
This was an insightful conversation. We spoke about our vices, alcohol and gambling and all these fun phrases. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more conversations on mobile growth.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.